Hi, I'm Dr. Heather Malyuk, Head of Audiology for Tuned, and I'd like to speak with you briefly about tuning into modern hearing wellness. I'd like to talk about Tuned and our background, as well as our four pillars of hearing health, and then I'd like to go into some data to show you what we are seeing in terms of demographics, clinical care, as well as some examples from consultations related to hearing loss, tinnitus, and vestibular issues. Tuned was founded in 2020. We are the largest online audiology network in the United States. We are a teleaudiology platform and hearing health benefits platform. We are VC backed and so far have raised over $11 million. We're currently serving over 100,000 members who represent more than 160 companies. What Tuned is doing is reimagining health benefits to include all senses. We're bringing hearing care to the table and leading the way for associated public health insights. We tend to serve those who would not typically seek out audiologic care, those who seem to be left behind by the traditional benefits model and don't know where to turn. When we're talking about this population, we have to look at those who are actually seeking audiologic care. The data show that that population tends to skew older, over 60 years of age. Individuals often think that hearing care is just hearing aids only. If you have hearing loss, you go see an audiologist and you get hearing aids. It's not necessarily the case, though that is an important part of what audiologists do. Tuned is really reaching younger populations with not just reactive care, but proactive care as well. We base our care on what we call the four pillars of hearing health, and those are hearing loss prevention, management of hearing loss from mild to severe, management of hearing disorders such as tinnitus and auditory processing disorder, and then management of balance disorders as well. When we look at the demographics who are using the Tuned platform in terms of age and gender, we find that 62.5% are between the ages of 25 to 54. So a little bit different than that data I showed a slide or two ago, looking that the population skews older. That's not the case for those using Tuned. It's 19.8% who are years 55 and over. The individuals who are between the ages of 18 and 24 represent 8.6% of our population. And then in terms of male to female ratio, it's half and half. We are seeing 50% of each. In terms of clinical data and reasons individuals are reaching out, overwhelmingly it's for hearing loss prevention and education at almost 40%. After that, we see subjective hearing issues at 21%, tinnitus at almost 17%. Those who have diagnosed hearing loss and currently wear hearing aids are at 14.38%. Those with vestibular or balance issues are at almost 5%. And then questions about other medical issues. This could be ear infections or something like that. They're at almost 4% of the population. In terms of consultations with our audiologists for those who have hearing loss, and that's why they are having the consultation, again, they represent about 35% of the population. This includes individuals who have known hearing loss and wear hearing aids, as well as those who are just starting to notice some subjective hearing loss issues. Of those 35%, 41% of them go on to have a referral for prescription hearing aids, and 32% are referred for over-the-counter devices and solutions. You might notice that 41% and 32% don't make 100%. And that's because some of these individuals need other types of referrals to other healthcare professionals because there could be something else going on that needs to be addressed first. So just to talk to you quickly about a case study on someone who had perceived hearing loss and came to Tuned, we'll call him John Doe, of course. He's using his Tuned benefit to discuss his difficulties hearing that he's noticing. He took Tuned's screener that indicated he had perceived hearing loss. So this screener goes through a lot of steps, including some validated questionnaires about hearing issues. Based on his concerns and what he was experiencing, he was recommended an over-the-counter device. He did seek a second opinion from an in-person audiology clinic, which I think is great. Second opinions are always a good thing. However, he was told at that clinic that his hearing was not bad enough to be helped, and he left without a path forward. He felt that Tuned had, in his words, picked up the ball that was dropped by the in-person provider. And it's nothing against the in-person provider. The reason why Tuned is able to help in these instances is that we're not trapped in the traditional hearing aid model. We're able to care for people in a new, holistic way. And that's what this person needed. And so he was very grateful that he was able to use his Tuned benefit to get some help in his day-to-day life. In terms of hearing loss prevention, and those consultations are about almost 40% of all of our consultations. For those individuals, half go on to receive hearing conservation products, but 100% receive education about hearing loss prevention so that they know how to take care of themselves moving forward. Looking at tinnitus, as I mentioned, they're about 17% of the consultations. That's why individuals are booking their consultations. And of those individuals, about 30% needed care beyond just the general consultation, and they were referred to specialists or were perhaps recommended therapy apps or other management strategies. So as we can see, not everyone needs to go through that specialist path. Many people had great relief after speaking with a general audiologist, but about 30% needed additional care. And just to give you a couple examples here, a tinnitus specialist over Tuned instructed a member on how to ask his prescribing physician about his medication list, pointing out which ones specifically could be causing tinnitus. And as a result, his physician was able to alter his medications and provide tinnitus relief. Pretty cool. The second example here is that after the completion of 2 sessions with a tinnitus specialist, one member wrote to his provider that he was finally able to find his inner peace again. Really cool. And if you're listening and you have tinnitus, you know that that's no small feat. So that was really a joy to see in a consultation report. In terms of vestibular or balance issues, they are representing about 5% of our consultations. And for those individuals, about 16% needed care beyond the general consultation and were referred to a specialist. We've got John's brother Jim here experiencing vertigo, accompanied by nausea and blurred vision. This gentleman came to Tuned and used his benefit to try and have someone help him put the pieces of the puzzle together from a vestibular standpoint. He had already seen an ear, nose, and throat physician, allergist, audiologist, cardiologist, neurologist, ophthalmologist, and physical therapist. He had had a CT scan and MRI completed. And the vestibular specialist who saw Jim was able to piece together all of this information and determine that Jim suffers from vestibular migraine. He's now on a care path and he's on his way to being helped and achieving relief. Really, really happy for him. So in closing, I hope I've been able to convey that Tuned is reaching individuals who need care, who need proactive and reactive services rather than just discounted hearing aid sales. And while hearing aids certainly remain a portion of Tuned's offerings, the data do show that this population requires much more, which includes preventive care, hearing disorder care, and balance care. Thank you for listening.